Hey everybody, welcome to the Gaming X. With Christmas and New Year just passing us by, we have noticed a slowdown in releases. Now as we ramp back up towards the end of the month and things do get rolling again, we wanted to take the opportunity to jump back and look at some of the titles we missed first time around. So today we're going to be taking a look at This Is the Police for the Nintendo Switch. And this was released back in October, but it's just such a unique title we wanted to share it with you. The big question remains though, is it worth your money? Let's find out. So I just want to touch on the story very quickly. This Is the Police has a great narrative throughout, where you're tasked with making $500,000 in 180 days. Now how you get to 500,000 is completely up to you. You can be the good guy solving crimes, chasing down the bad guys, or you can turn to the darker side and take bribes, work with the underworld or any local gangster. Basically, you're doing everything a police officer shouldn't do. And this is why This Is the Police story succeeds. It sets up a scenario and an amount you need to make, but then the choice of how you get there is up to you. The game still manages to develop the storyline and push it forward, and it's continuously giving you snippets of information as you progress. I personally really enjoyed this storyline and narrative, and they made some fantastic design decisions to really get you invested in the characters, but we'll touch on that more later. Okay, so let's talk about the graphics. So This Is the Police opts for a city view, where you can see everything you're doing. So whether that's sending out police to crime sites, or you simply need to balance your police officers at each location. Now generally these graphics are very basic. They're low detail blocks essentially. But what I will say is they stand out as very unique and stylistic. The game has opted for that same style no matter what page you may be on, and it succeeds in giving the title a style all of its own. Cutscenes are especially nice to look at with individual still images that reinforce that same graphical style. Here though they've included voiceovers and music narrating the story as you move along the comic cells. Now while it might not be pushing any console to its limits, it's the commitment to the style throughout which really makes this one succeed, and for the gameplay it works perfectly. So audio. So the standout here in audio is the music. This is jazz and period pieces, and it's a great reflection of the character you take the role of here. He's a police officer of the past, and this is a great way of representing this. Now the game is intended at all times to be in your office, so you're able to interact with the record player, and this is a really nice touch to reinforce that setting. Additionally, you have the option to purchase more records as you progress, and these will be added to your collection. Accompanying the story, you will also find live dialogue. Now it's not the best you will ever hear, but it's not bad at all. It's a stereotypical gravelly tone to match the nature of the game, and while it's not perfect throughout with some cast members letting it down, I can say for an indie game I was generally very impressed. It drives the story forward and adds a level of realism to the characters which could have easily been missed and lost alongside the art style we see, so generally I will say great work. Unfortunately, one area of letdown for me was the sound effects. I just didn't hear a lot going on here. Button clicks for menus, occasional city tones and sirens, but apart from that there's really not much else. This was a missed opportunity in my opinion, where they could have had a lot of fun with the sound design and bring this city and its crime to life. So gameplay. So here you run a team of varying police officers. Now these are from the lowest level all the way up to those in the higher ranks, so that could be SWAT, undercover or detectives. And gameplay essentially here boils down to selection based menu systems as you organise and deploy your force. You'll find yourself covering the entire city, and missions will range in difficulty. It means you need to match the correct level of experience to a case type. And one thing I did miss initially was the text for each mission. I was skimming over it. Now what I did realise though was this contains a number of clues, so it will help you to decide who to send. So what I will say is expect quite a bit of reading through this game. Quickly the game becomes a juggling act as you're balancing multiple cases throughout the city and trying to work out who you can get to the next case the quickest. With major crimes, you'll use detectives and they'll take the lead, and clues will actually populate which you can then piece together for a visual view on the breakdown of events. Each officer additionally will have a star rating, and that can be impacted from work history to a history of drinking, all the way through to hours they've worked and whether they're exhausted. It's a surprisingly deep simulator that may not be clear immediately from the art style they've chosen. And the gameplay here will get really tense, as I was feeling the pressure as my city exploded with crime. I was starting to take more and more risks with underexperienced officers facing challenges they shouldn't be. On top of this, I was also facing HR issues with staff members calling out sick or family visiting from out of town, so they're taking the day off. This is a surprisingly deep simulator, and it may not be clear when you first load it up from the graphical style. It was just so much more than I anticipated. I personally felt the pressure from the city as crime exploded. My police force was depleted, already out on cause. The mayor was calling me to fix the city. My crime lord new best friend was trying to get a dirty deal done without any interference. Additionally, I just didn't expect to be handling topics such as HR issues like sick calls and personal issues. It really has some depth to this, and it's a fantastic inclusion to the Switch library. Now, one thing I will say with gameplay is I did face a few minor issues. Occasionally the menus would freeze for a second or two, and sometimes they wouldn't accept my command. I'd have to exit out and then re-enter them. But apart from this, I can tell you this is a very involved management simulator. So my final verdict, I enjoyed every minute of this one, and I do appreciate it's an acquired taste. This is a management sim through and through. You will often find yourself watching your screen as events take place, with little to no participation. Fortunately though, the payoff in setting up your force and having that power is hugely rewarding. It's an experience like no other on the Switch right now. This is all reinforced with an involving storyline and voice acting that adds a level of realism and character that's often missed in indie developments. Now, a lack of sound effects was a missed inclusion on the game's part, and the occasional glitch in the gameplay commands and menus did hold the title back, but it was never more than a few seconds of frustration. Unfortunately, these minor issues can't hold this one back from an easy recommendation on my part. The Gaming X awards This Is the Police an 8 out of 10. If you're looking for something completely different on your Switch and enjoy a more thought-driven game, then this might just be the title for you, and it comes highly recommended. Thanks so much for checking out the video today, everyone. If you like what you saw, then consider hitting subscribe, and we'll see you on the next Gaming X.